Here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not. 'Cause the dreams bring back all the memories of everything we've been through.
Close to the ones here today, close to the ones that we lost on the way. 'Cause the dreams bring back all the memories, and the memories bring back you.
There's a time that I remember when I did not know no pain,
when I believed in forever and everything would stay the same.
Now my heart feel like December when somebody say your name.
'Cause I can't reach out to call you, but I know I will one day, yeah.
Everybody hurts sometimes, everybody hurts someday, yeah.
But everything will be alright. Go as your voice will say, hey.
Here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not. 'Cause the dreams bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Close to the ones here today, close to the ones that we lost on the way. 'Cause the dreams bring back all the memories, and the memories bring back you. Memories bring back you. There's a time that I remember when I never felt so lost,
When I felt that all the hatred was too powerful to stop. Now my heart feels like an ember, and it's lighting up the dark.
I'll carry these torches for you,
That you know I'll never drop, yeah.
Everybody hurts sometimes, everybody hurts someday, hey, hey.
But everything gon' be alright. Go and raise your voice and say, hey.
Here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not. 'Cause the dreams bring back all those memories of everything we've been through.
Close to the ones here today, close to the ones that we lost on the way. 'Cause the dreams bring back all the memories, and the memories bring back you.
Do 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 do.
Memories bring back you.
Do 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 do.
Memories bring back you.
Do 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 do.
Memories bring back you.
Here's to the ones.
Memories bring back you.
Memories bring back
you. Memories bring back you.
We have come together by choice in this moment, or is it perhaps by chance? We have come together by chance to feed our souls, or is it perhaps by the will of a greater soul? The truth is, we can't say what calls us together to worship. Is it chance, or will, or destiny? But we remember that somebody is somewhere is always in prayer, and the powers that be will continue to be for a time and times and half a time. So I invite you now into the worship that is already in progress. When Unitarian Universalists gather, they always light a chalice, and I have a chalice lit behind me. Today, the words for lighting the chalice are by George Kimmich Beach, and he says these words are about, in the mystery of life about us, there is light. In the mystery of life about us, there is light. It gives us a place to be, to grow, to rejoice together. It opens the pathways to love. In this place of friendship, there is freedom. Let the light we kindle go before us, strong in hope, wide in goodwill, inviting the day to come. There now, the chalice is lit, and Red River Unitarian Universalists invite you into this sacred space. And when they gather, they always say this affirmation of their covenant. I invite you to say it with them. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another. Now, church is in session, and I will begin with this opening thought. It is from Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Agreements, a Toltec wisdom book. What you are seeing and hearing right now is nothing but a dream. You are dreaming right now, in this moment. You are dreaming with the brain awake. Humans are dreaming all the time. With that dream in mind, hear now our opening song.
May nothing evil cross this door, and may your fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This hearth of the world grow chill will keep you warm. Peace shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in.
The first reading today is a solid reading from the book of Exodus in the 20th chapter. You will probably recognize these classic words that are foundational for the Judeo-Christian tradition. The reading begins. And God spoke all these words. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold guiltless anyone who misuses my name. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. Honor your father and your mother so that you may live long in the land your Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife or your neighbor's male or female servant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. When the people saw the thunder and lightning and heard the trumpet and saw the mountain in smoke, they trembled with fear. They stayed at a distance and said to Moses, "Speak to us yourself, and we will listen, but do not have God speak to us, or we will die." Here ends the reading. And now, Red River Unitarian Universalists enjoy a time in their programs they just call practices. It's a time of meditation, reflection, prayer. We call it various things. Today, in keeping with the theme that Don Miguel Ruiz sounds very often in the Four Agreements, I want to reflect upon the awakening of the soul. And so I've chosen a meditation by Teresa Tet Gustilo Gallardo called A Litany for Waking. If you want to at home and you're not too self-conscious, you can respond either in your mind or aloud. Wake up, O my soul. And so I will read some words for reflection. And as you are moved to do so in this moment of quiet, just respond. Wake up, O my soul. Don Miguel believes that we spend our time in a dream, and to some degree, he's right. We are in a dream much of the time, and the practice of mindfulness, waking up, is one we can afford to work on. So I invite you to take some time, take a moment to be in quiet, and then to allow yourself to come to consciousness, to be aware of your surroundings, to take a moment to wake up, oh my soul. I will begin, and your response is to wake up, oh my soul. It takes energy to stand and defiantly stand against voices that wear me down. Wake up, oh my soul. It takes the force of my will to take charge of my life and do what I can. Wake up, oh my soul. It takes a choice on my part to act or be still, to learn to receive as well as to give. Wake up, oh my soul. Through the movement of my soul and my heart, I can change my mind. Wake up, oh my soul. When I recognize what is good in others, I magnify the force of good. Wake up, oh my soul. And now I invite you to take that waking of your soul and enjoy the music for our response.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in awe. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
After the musical response, it's now time for our second reading. We heard from the Judeo-Christian tradition, and now from Don Miguel, from the Four Agreements, half a world away, from the Toltec wisdom book, the Four Agreements. What has happened with the adult human? Why are we so different? Why are we not wild? What has happened is we have the book of law, the big judge and the victim who rules our lives. We are no longer free because the judge, the victim, and belief system don't allow us to be who we really are. Once our minds have been programmed with all that garbage, we are no longer happy. It is time to free yourself of the tyranny of the judge by changing the foundation of your own agreements. It is time to be free from the role of the victim. The real you is still a little child who never grew up. Sometimes that little child comes out when you are having fun, when you're playing, when you feel happy, when you're painting or writing poetry or playing the piano or expressing yourself in some way. These are the happiest moments of your life. when the real you comes out, when you don't care about the past and you don't worry about the future, you are childlike. But there is something that changes all that. We call them responsibilities. The judge says, wait a second, you're responsible. You have things to do. You have to work. You have to go to school. You have to earn a living. We go to court, and that is the face we see, and that is what we are. We are still children, but we have lost our freedom. When we live in the dream of the planet, it is as if we are dead. Here ends the reading. Herewith now the discourse. Renegotiating the four agreements, I've called it. Reading the fine print. Well, I'm going by the numbers today, obviously. We started with 10 commandments, 4 agreements. This may be a 3-point sermon. We'll get to the commandments later, but here are the 4 agreements in case you're one of the few people who missed that whole decade that it was on the bestseller list and didn't get to the 4 agreements. Here they are. Number 1, be impeccable with your word. Number 2, don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions and always do your best. All right, now I'm a contrarian, so I'm going to go in reverse order. You can take notes if you want, or you can download the morning program if this is the premiere. I hope you have. Or you can buy any of the books. I mean, Don Miguel Ruiz tapped into the dream of the United States and told us how to get out of it and really lived the American dream because he hit big with the 4 agreements. He said we were domesticated with the belief system of the planet, that it's like a parasite in our minds, the dysfunctional dream of this planet. And that's what he told the 4 agreements were. Now, so who is he, this Don Miguel Ruiz? He is the author of at least 6 books in the Toltec Wisdom series. They were published by Janet Mills, who worked with him. She met Don Miguel decades ago through a mutual friend when she was on what was called a power journey in Mexico. She said she found Don Miguel's teachings to be unique, authentic, life-transforming. He expressed his desire and vision to reach people all around the world with his powerful message. And sure enough, he did. The books came out, the 4 Agreements companion book, The Mastery of Love, The Voice of Knowledge. The 4 Agreements has been translated into 39 languages, distributed worldwide. There are seminars, there's a website, all the way up to the Toltec Art of Life and Death. And then Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., his oldest son, achieved his own spiritual growth through a love of philosophy and detachment. He wrote the 5 levels of detachment. And then Don Jose Ruiz, his other son, would go on to write the 5th agreement. It's a dynasty almost. So really talking about a dream, the American dream. But in the 4 agreements, Don Miguel uses powerful, simple metaphors, many of them, that he repeats in this slim 140-page book. And he wants us to repeat these metaphors frequently to improve our chances of happiness. He sort of reprogram ourselves because we've been programmed, he says, and reprogram ourselves for happiness. That's basically what it is. I don't know. All right, so I said I'm a contrarian. Look, it takes sincere effort and 12 steps for alcoholics and addicts to achieve sobriety. Okay. And look, if you skip one or miss one, you got to go back all the way to step one and start over. Jews and Christians have to learn and follow 10 commandments. And that's the minimum. Those are commandments, my friends. Buddhists have an 8-fold path, and everybody's on it, no exceptions. It's a rigorous 8-fold path. Muslims adhere to the 5 pillars of Islam, and their baseline is prayer 5 times a day. So steps, commandments, pillars, paths. Next to that, well, it's no wonder Americans just fell in love with agreements. Okay, I can do agreements. I could do that. Look, if the 4 agreements when they came out in 1997, if this was healing for you, I'm for it. All right, anything that works. I'm just saying 4 agreements, they may not be enough anymore, and I just think we need to reinterrogate them. So let's start. And as I said, I'm going to do them backwards because contrarian here. So I'll start with the last one. Always do your best, he says. Why? I have to say, no is my first response. And I have to tell you why. I have a negative reaction because I have a history with this, with being told that I wasn't doing my best. And I'll get to that. But first of all, how do we even know what our best is? We don't actually. And here's another thing. Sometimes we have to make a prioritizing decision about when we should be doing our best. We need to be able to do that. Now Don Miguel does say that your best is going to change from time to time. I admit that, I acknowledge that. But it reminds me of, preachers know this old story about the preacher in the little New England church and the time that there was a blizzard and he shows up for church and only one farmer comes to church that day. So the preacher, he's new there, and he says, well, I guess we just won't have services today. And the farmer says, well, preacher, if only one cow shows up at feeding time, I don't not feed him. That's my Yankee accent. I know it's terrible. Maybe it's a little Katharine Hepburn that I used to be able to do. Anyway, the preacher says, oh, you're right, sir. I'm very sorry. Of course. And he proceeds to do the whole service that he had planned out for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And he says, there you go. How was that, sir? And the farmer says, well, you know, if I go out to feed the cows and only one's there, I don't feed them the whole load. And so that's the story illustrating the fact that sometimes we don't need to do our whole best. Sometimes a lick and a promise will do. So that's the thing. Always do your best. I don't know. I admit my first negative response to this one. It's because as a child, look, I was lucky. You know, I did all right in school. I was quick. I made good grades, but I had a lot going on in my head. And I would come home with a 99 on my report card, and they would say, could do better if she applied herself. That just makes a neurotic child. Now we have people in this country who they don't care about doing their best. And then there's a bunch of neurotics like me going around, oh, I missed a point. That's not a way to run things. Here's an example of maybe a better way to do it. John Newton, he was the man who wrote the words to Amazing Grace. And if you don't know the story, he was a terrible man. I believe he was a slave owner. think the story, but he was a terrible man who was redeemed by his faith. And then he wrote the words of Amazing Grace, which is now a song that really reaches to the heart of a lot of people. But here's what he said about himself. I am not the man I ought to be. I'm not the man I wish to be. And I am not the man I hope to be. But by the grace of God, I am not the man I used to be. So we don't know what our best is moment to moment. We don't know how Don Miguel wants us to figure out what our best is, perhaps. I don't know, maybe we do, but look, with the commandments, it's pretty clear. Yahweh does not care at all about what we think our best is, does he? With Yahweh, it's did you murder or not? It doesn't matter what we think. You don't murder, period. You're not going to go to God and say, well, God, I did steal, but I tried my best not to. That's not going to cut it. I think the two notions of morality or of how you're supposed to approach your notions of goodness, they're very different worldviews. With Don Miguel wants us to do our best. With the commandments, it's pretty clear. It's Yahweh or the highway. And a shout out to a beloved colleague for that terrible pun. You know who you are. All right, enough about that. You get my critique, and it's certainly open to discussion. Here's the next one I want to talk about. Don Miguel, the next agreement, don't make assumptions. All right. Now, when this came out in couples therapy parlance, this one was very good. In couples therapy parlance, it's don't be a mind reader. Thank goodness somebody opened this up. So Don Miguel really hit a nerve with this one. Don't make assumptions. For example, don't make assumptions. Don't think you know my agenda. Don't tell me how I'm feeling. You don't know. Very valuable advice. I'll give you an example of a time when I made an assumption that was so wrong. Oh my goodness, I really was terribly embarrassed. I made an assumption years ago about a person in my circle of friends. I thought this person was angry with me. Every time I encountered this person, the look on this person's face just really made me think I had offended this person. And it wasn't until months of random encounters that I learned this person was suffering from a degenerative disease, a neural disease that affected this person's affect. It was nothing to do with me. How ashamed and embarrassed I was to realize that in the center of my little world, I totally missed the fact that this person had suffering of their own. And instead, I let my little ego be bruised. Look, don't make assumptions. It's very valuable advice. I get that. On the other contrarian hand, he goes on to say, ask questions. Okay, really, and honestly, I didn't delve too deeply into the suggestions about that, but look, is asking questions the only alternative to assumptions? What about assessments? What about attention? Just attention. Attention must be paid. That line, that thought resonated with me as I was preparing this, and I remembered the scene in Death of a Salesman, when Linda Lohman at Willie Loman's funeral tells his son at the death of this poor man who only wanted to be loved and to be respected, attention must be paid. We're not to make assumptions about people, but might we make assessments? Might we pay attention to others, regard them carefully, abide with them until we see? Attention must be paid, because that's what creates the space for our empathy, our intuitions. I can abide with someone and allow my empathy, my intuition to imagine how they might be feeling without interrogating them, without annoying them. I don't make assumptions. I allow their feelings and their sense of themselves to show me who they are. I can also tell you this: we may have gone too far the other way, to the point where people can be publicly suffering, and we will say, whatever, that's their problem, that's their world. I worry about that. If I see someone weeping, I will assume that they have pain. So sue me. That is an assumption I feel it's safe to make much of the time. Attention must be paid. Another agreement, and actually the one that kind of got me thinking about renegotiating these agreements, is Don Miguel's instruction. Don't take things personally. He says, first of all, for people who study that kind of thing, I must say that's a pretty aggressive linguistic structure. Don't take things personally. I can guarantee pretty much that if you say that to somebody, don't take this personally, they're going to take it personally. I'm just saying that in my experience, that's how people are. But here's where I began to question this and really have some fun with the whole idea. There's a nuance that's missing. And I heard this in a dialogue on a television show, Boardwalk Empire, which I didn't watch, but I heard this in passing. It was between some hardened criminals in this scene. By the way, criminals get the best dialogue in television. Criminal number one is saying to the other, I'm going to have to shoot you now. Don't take this personally. And the other criminal says, I'm a person. How should I take it? Well, I just thought that put a whole new light on that directive, didn't it? Don Miguel meant not everything around you is about you. So we understand what he meant, but the way that he said that, I believe, allowed a lot of people to take that instruction too far. What I mean by that is a lot of people have decided that if something didn't matter to them, then it shouldn't matter to anyone. Do you know what I mean? Put something in the chat if you know what I mean. It's like when you're at the doctor and the doctor says, well, you have a condition, but then they say they're not worried about it. And you say, well, that's because it's not your condition. But Dr. Google and we're a little bit worried. It's actually the kind of the grown-up version of I'm rubber and you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks on you. All right. I mean, what I'm saying is these agreements are just a little too fuzzy for me too prone to be stretched out of shape like a cheap sweater. But the Ten Commandments, people play with them too. They do. Jesus did, and we'll get to that. But they snap back to shape over the centuries. So now for the fourth agreement, which Don Miguel put first, which is wise, I think, because it's the best one. This is the one I think is the most important. Be impeccable with your word. Impeccable, I like that. Is sinless is what the root word means. So it means, perhaps partly, tell the truth. Be truthful. All the time? Maybe, not necessarily, depends on the situation, but it means even if we don't tell the truth, we need to know the truth, honor the truth, hold the truth as a value. Here again, we see a big difference in the worldviews, in a way. The Toltec way had a lot to do with the manifestations of illusions and dreams and the seeking of wisdom and truth through this world of illusion. Yes? So exotic for mainstream Christians in 1997 and the ensuing decade. Because what do the Ten Commandments say to the people about their search for wisdom and truth? Nothing, right? I mean, the mainstream Judeo-Christian, the Yahweh God speaking to the people at the time in the Ten Commandments, this is not about a search for wisdom and truth. They are not about living in a fog or a dream. God delivers the Ten Commandments to Moses in plain language for them to follow. God is the truth. This is the law, and those are the requirements for adults. And adulthood is a desirable state, the state of responsible adulthood. By contrast, the four agreements promise you that doing your best will be good enough, and you'll be able to say, gee, you guys, I'm not a mind reader, and you won't get your feelings hurt because you'll be rubber and they'll be glue, and all you have to do is tell the truth. I believe there are mystical depths to the Toltec way, maturity there that I'm not getting out of this little book. I think what we have there, it's here. I think what we have here is probably just the primer. I'm sure of it. It's the starter book. I'm sure there's more to these agreements than meets the eye. The difference between my dealing with this book and the Ten Commandments is that I grew up steeped in the Judeo-Christian tradition. This is where I find the next thing I want to study, and study for real, is the fifth agreement, Don Jose's book, which I've not read. Full disclosure, haven't read it yet, just ran across it now. But what I understand the fifth agreement to be from Don Jose Ruiz, his son, is be skeptical of everything you hear, but learn to listen. I like that. Don Jose zeroed in on the role of language and symbology. The world functions thanks to symbology, which is why it domesticates us as we grow up. I'm sure we could say that the Judeo-Christian tradition in commandment form has domesticated us in a different way. All knowledge is built on symbology. That's why all truths are relative. When you learn to be impeccable with your words, you can use symbology to your advantage. Here's something from the fifth agreement, truth and lies. Lies, he points out, need people to believe in them. But the truth, he says, doesn't need you to believe it. The truth simply is, and it survives whether you believe it or not. Don Jose provides a needed counterpoint, the next steps perhaps, needed counterpoint to the four agreements. Makes me want to learn more so that I can go deeper than the popular versions of Toltec thought that I am critiquing here today in these admittedly broad strokes. So I started by saying this was all a numbers game. Let's see, 12 steps, 10 commandments, 8-fold path, 5 pillars, 4 agreements. Can we get under 4 agreements? Jesus got the commandments down to 2. Love God or life with all your heart and being, he said, and then love others as well as yourself. That's 2 commandments. But you have to really, really mean them. Earlier, I indicated that Yahweh, God of the 10 commandments, didn't seem to care much about the spiritual inner workings, truth-seeking of the believers. But of course, that was only that Yahweh God aspect of the Holy One, the great power, which we learn much more of in the Bible. It's only one pale sliver of the whole of the Judeo-Christian religious world, which also includes the deep, broad, still small voice, the burning bush, the great I am, and the mystical traditions in Christianity that I follow. Half a world away from the Toltec world, the Israelites, and then later the Christians, were also evolving and shaping a religious reality, because we really are all terribly small, fragile people locked in a dreaming brain, undisciplined, with a reality within which we really could do better, I think, if we applied ourselves, because it's an extraordinary world in there, and it's an extraordinary world out there too. And we're just trying to be who we really are, just trying, I suppose, to do our best. So if it takes you 12 steps and 10 commandments and an 8-fold path and 5 pillars and 5 agreements and 4 agreements and 3 French hens, I say, go ahead and wake up and get all the right agreements on board. And then I think we can get all the people to agree to say, Amen. And so be it. And may it be so. And Amen again.
When I wake up in America, I see my neighbors there with every type of clothes and shoes, hats and skin and hair, every fine belief and custom. Scores of songs from who knows where. When I wake up in America, our stories fill the air. Wake up, despierta. Wake up, despierta. Wake up in America. The light in the harbor shines for us all. When I wake up, I see the kids playing, happily swaying. It's good to be staying in a place like this, with a face like this. When I wake up in America, and I love my neighbor as myself. And I say, I'm glad that you're here. We have found ourselves together in a land we dream could be. When we wake up in America, everybody will be free. Wake up,
Despierta,
wake up,
despierta.
wake up, please, America. The light in the harbor shines for us all. When I wake up, when you wake up, when we wake up in America.
The parting thought for today is from a song by Bob Dylan called Buckets of Rain. And I have it here because it's a simple song. And this is the last verse. And it speaks to me and someone close to me. Life is sad. Life is a bust. All you can do is do what you must. You do what you must do, and you do it well. I do it for you. Honey, baby, can't you tell? And now, if you're watching the premiere, you're invited to stay for fellowship time with the Red River Unitarian Universalists on Zoom. And if you're watching this later, you're still invited to click over to the website, click over to the Facebook page, see what Red River Unitarian Universalists are doing. They're trying to change the world from North Texas. It's important that we all try to see what each other is doing. And now please receive this benediction. Finally, beloved, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, and if there's anything worthy of praise, think about those things. And now the chalice will be extinguished with these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we hold in our hearts until we are together again.
Hello, I'm Reverend Art Severance, and I will be preaching on Sunday. The sermon title is Beyond the Stained Glass Jesus, and Beyond Stained Glass Religion, which is what we Unitarian Universalists are about. But the fact that we take our religion seriously and we don't want to say anything that we don't believe. Sometimes saying we don't even want to use the word God because we no longer believe in that. And so hopefully I will challenge some of your assumptions. I will perhaps answer some questions. I will perhaps ask some more, and we will talk about what it means to go beyond the stained glass Jesus. So I hope you will join me in talking about that. Thank you. See you Sunday.